All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome. Complete set review for the main set of Foundations. That's right, these are all the cards that'll be in play boosters, they'll be drafting with and opening in packs. Look for a separate review of the cards in the starter set, which are legal and standard. It sounds confusing, it's really not, honestly. It's a big set, a lot of cards, very exciting, big project for Magic. This set's really awesome so far. So we're doing green, all the cards, structured and limited. If you miss the other cards, watch them on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, support the content because it's a lot of work and I appreciate your support. And we're going to jump right in here and get things going. Brought to you by...
Are you ready to elevate your limited game? Introducing Magic the Gathering Arena Limited Stats by Untapped GG to make every draft count, whether you're a seasoned player or just starting. Our meta tier list shows you the best colors to draft and how popular they are, so you know at a glance what colors to pick. Navigate card ratings to discover the strongest bombs, or dive deeper with our advanced view for detailed breakdowns. Ever wonder what it takes to get 7 wins? Explore trophy decks from other players, study winning drafts, and replicate their successes. Victory is just a click away at mtga.untapped.gg. Your path to Mythic starts here.
All right, let's get rocking and rolling with our first green card here in Affectionate Indrik. Recent reprint. 6 mana for a 4/4 ETB fight a creature. Fine draft card. It's a little small, honestly. But, you know, a Ravish Chupacabra in green is pretty good. So, fine draft card for sure. Play this kill, 3/3 flyer, whatever. It's pretty awesome. So, card's good. Good draft card. Not that exciting, but pretty good. Ambush Wolf. 3 mana for a 4/2 flash. ETB exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. This is a fine limited card. You know, there's graveyard things happening in this set. The 4/2 stat line for 3 is, honestly, it's funny. I feel like folks complain about it. I kind of like it. Like, it blocks up a lot. It can trade down on offense, but it can also trade up on defense and hit really hard when your opponents have a blocker. And the flash here makes it kind of maneuverable where it's like it can surprise block or surprise attack. So I like this card. Good solid draft common. You know, not playable constructed obviously, but it's cool. Fine draft common. Wouldn't take it highly, but I'd be happy to play it in my deck. Apothecary Stomper, another common here. 6 mana for a 4/4 with a Vigilance. And when the ETBs, put 2 counters on it, on any creature you control, or gain 4 life. So, not quite Honey Mammoth, you know, the 6/6 that gains 3, which has been in a few different sets in the last few years, and it's a great stabilizing card for green draft decks. This is a pretty good stabilizing card. 4/4 gain 4 is, it's good, it's not as good. This can pump your creatures is pretty cool too. I think this is mostly like a filler level 6 drop. Like, didn't get any rares, didn't get any good uncommons on my draft. I need a 6 drop. This can do it, but I don't think it's that exciting, honestly. Beastkin Rager, more commons. 3 mana for a 3/3 trample. Whenever another creature you control ETBs, +1/+0 on a turn. This is a great common. Great draft common. 3/3 trample for 3 is already like fine as is. It's also an elf, which is important. But this can attack for 4 or 5 pretty fast, honestly. And there's a lot of go wide stuff happening in both green and then also in white. This card's a great payoff for that. It's also an elf, there's some elf things happening too. Great draft common. Big fan, likes the card a lot. Good stuff. Bite Down, reprint. Good removal spell unlimited. We're going to go pretty fast with some of the reprints here because I already know what they are, obviously. And this card just is what it is. Good removal spell unlimited. Not too much more. Blanchwood Armor gets a reprint. Very popular card among newer players. Has seen play in Standard. On Troll Ascetic and Friends, if there's a way to defend your creature, this is a pretty good one. And you're playing all forests. That being said, those decks typically don't exist in Standard, but if there is a mono green beatdown deck, it could definitely be in it for sure. Apparently it's already legal in Standard. I didn't know that. So, whatever. Fringe playable. If you're playing 11 forests in your draft deck, you can play it. It's okay. The real thing here is that, like, when this card first came out, creatures were freaking awful, so you needed to pump them. In modern day Magic, creatures are already great, so augmenting them is not really necessary, so it's kind of whatever. Broken Wings, good sideboard card. For limited, constructed, probably not. Bushwhack gets downshifted to common, which is pretty cool actually. So you have Lay of a Land here or a fight. This is a good draft card, you know. Lay of a Land's totally reasonable for splashes, and then 1 green fight isn't really good enough by itself anymore, Prey Upon, but the flexibility and the modality of being able to be a land too is great. Card's great. And honestly, this card saw play in Constructed too. It was in the Otters deck that Team Sanctum played at Worlds, and it's seen play in a few other places also. It's good with Librarian Terror and Friends, so could definitely see play Constructed. It's already legal though, so whatever, but it's cool. Cackling Prowler, 4 mana for a 4/3. It's got Ward 2 and Morbid. If a creature died this turn, put a counter on it. This is a pretty good draft common, actually. It seems filler level, but it'd be very, very easy just to be a 5/4 of a turn you play it, which is good. And then the Ward's nice also. So if they have like, a 4 mana removal spell, it costs 6 now. It's pretty good too. So I don't think I would ever be happy taking this card super highly, but it does seem a pretty above filler level rate in draft, which is good. Doubling Season, big reprint. Commander players rejoice, all right? I'm not one of you, but cool. Enjoy it, I guess, Could see play constructed if there's some dumb Planeswalker combos or whatever. But for the most part, this is a casual card through and through. That's great. This is a set 4 casual cards, 4 newer players also, which is good. So yeah, cool. Dwyn Guiltleaf Dean. Downshifted to an uncommon here. If I went up for a 3/4, it's got reach, pumps your elves, and then gains life for attacking elves, which is cool. Good limited card. Fun to see this card downshifted because it's a fun limited card. A lot of elves in the set. A lot of go wide stuff in the set. Card's cool. Good card. Good limited card. Not much more, but good. Dwyn's Elite. Now this card, holy moly. It's not going to win Bombin Common, but it definitely could have. Dwyn's Elite is really, really good. It does require you to want to have a 1 mana elf. More on that later. But this card's great. This is 3 power for 2 mana over 2 bodies. Synergy stuff. Sort of like Mog War Marshal on steroids. Really, really good in elf typo decks. Great limited card. Also, downshifted to common here also. The card's great. It's a really good card. It's pauper legal now too. This card's been a player before and will be, again, great limited card. Also possible card for constructed too. And there are elf things happening in standard. Don't forget, Runvelt Hordemaster and Leaf Crown Visionary, the 2 lords, the really good lords from Dominaria, are still legal. Even though there's been no support for them, they're still there, and they're still good. So watch out for that. Eager Truffle Snout. 3 mana for a 4/2 trample. Whenever it does combat damage to a player, make a food. Good limited card. There's some things in this set that care about 4 power for red-green. This thing beats. It's got trample. It makes a food most of the time. It's a good card. Like it. Good draft card. Elfsworn Giant. 5 mana for a 5/3 reach. Landfall, make an elf. This card's kind of sweet. I think a 5/3 for 5 is a little rough, obviously. And it honestly plays more like a 6-drop than a 5-drop. But the ability to keep making tokens in the mid-game is pretty cool. And there is obviously a good amount of ramp in the elf stuff happening too. So, not a high pick by any means, but a pretty cool top-end card for your green draft decks. It's fun. Kind of wish it was an elf itself, honestly, but... Elvish Archdruid Returns. Yeah. Very, very popular card. Very, very powerful card. Unfortunately, the kind of card that's going to underperform in standard. Elvish Archdruid is a card that if it lives, you often can win the game. But if it dies, they're terrible exchange for you. And standard is a format where you play a ton of removal spells, right? So this card saw some play in modern and stuff where you play against Tron that aren't playing removal and you just explode on turn 3 with this card. In standard, everyone's playing cut down, go for the throat, shock, etc., etc. And this card looks pretty bad in that kind of metagame. That being said, it is a very powerful card. And if it's an elf support, this card could definitely see play. But yeah, in limited, banger for sure. If I constructed, I think it's a little too fragile, but we'll see. Elvish Regrower. 4 mana for a 4/3. ETB, return a permanent card graveyard to your hand. Obviously a phenomenal limited card. Constructed, probably not. But absolute banger limited card. Really, really good. Felling Blow. 3 mana for a sorcery. Put a counter on a creature you control, and then it deals damage equal to its power to a creature your opponent controls. This is just a better version of Hunt the Weak or whatever. Good limited card. Adding counters is great. Killing things is great. Being a 3 mana sorcery is a little bit rough. You can't get blown out by our removal spell here. But realistically, this card's just good. Just good draft card. Good aggressive card. Not much more to say. Garruk's Uprising. Fun reprint. 3 mana for an enchantment. And if it ETBs, if you control a creature power 4 greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample. And then when a creature with power 4 greater ETBs, draw a card. Just good on both sides of the ball, right? If you top deck this and already have big guy in play, draw a card. You play it early, you draw cards. That being said, 3 mana is kind of a lot for an effect like this. So it's a card that didn't really see much play when it was legal the first time. But great limited card, and it's like an outside shot, constructed play. Cool card, though. Likes card a lot. Really, really fun. And then Trample is also a big deal here, too. Genesis Wave.
I'm sorry, Tyler Murphy. It was an accident. I was having too much fun.
This is a banger card. Real awesome card for dumping a ton of mana into. Is that what Standard wants right now? I mean, maybe. People are playing counter spells, you know. Wave reveals top X. It puts all the cards that cost extra left into play for free. So if you're waving with all permanents, you play cast, for 8 mana. It's a lot of stuff, right? But it is very, very expensive. So if you are making a lot of good mana, is also a pretty big deck building requirement too, where you need to have a bunch of permanents in your deck also. You need to make a bunch of mana, have a bunch of permanents, have those permanents also be relevant. Very possible you could hit like big stuff in a haste effect and just kill your opponent one shot with this card, which is kind of cool. Very bad against counter spells. But powerful card, fun effect. I believe last time this card was legal, Nykthos was also legal. That's a big deal to not have that available. But there is the Elf Nykthos, the tribal Nykthos in the prior set. That's kind of cool too. So could definitely be a thing. Fun card. And then in limited, if you're playing enough stuff and enough mana, this card's pretty cool. It's fun. Whoa!
Good lord. Gigantic.
Galta Returns, a great casual Timmy card. 12 mana for a 12/12. Costs X less to cast or X's power creatures you control. This card is, it's really, really big. It dies to go for the throat, but it's really, really big. So if there is some sort of stompy, something, whatever deck. This card saw a little bit of play previous. It does count all the creatures you control. It's not like Great Henge, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, probably not a card that we'll see a ton of play constructed, but pretty cool card. Great limited card, super fun card. Just cool. I just like this card. It's fun. Giant Growth Returns. It's a pump spell. It's the original. It's cool. It's good and limited. Fun trivia here. I actually played 4 copies of Giant Growth in my first ever Pro Tour deck. Pro Tour Honolulu, 2006. Giant Growth Zoo. That was my deck. Look it up. Gnarlwood Colony. It's meant for a 2/2. Kicker 3. If you kick it, put 2 counters on it, and then it can give all your counter creatures trample. Fine card. Fine draft card. It's a bear or 5-drop. Trample's pretty cool too. It's good nuts and bolts draft card. Grow from the Ashes. 2 mana for a rampant growth. And if you kick it, you get 2 lands. Pretty a below rate on both sides. This card looks pretty embarrassing next to Overlord of the Hauntwoods. But a cool draft card, for multi-color decks. Just kind of whatever. Just, it's a card that won't see much play in constructed, but it's cool. Inspiring Call. Draw a card for each creature you control with a counter on it, and give them indestructible. Your pretty classic super high ceiling, super low floor card. This card can be a game-winning effect for 3 mana or do nothing for 3 mana, which is a big deal. Constructed, I think it's just too clunky. For limited, if you have enough counter things, it can be very, very good. But yeah, I recall this card not being super great in cons, whatever it was in. But yeah, it's got a high ceiling. Folks, welcome to probably the best card in the set. I'm giving this the Bombin Common award, not the Best in Show award for green, because I think it's just too obvious, honestly. And there's just it's just great and limited, great constructed, obviously. But Llanowar Elves is probably the most important card in the set, and honestly, the biggest risk that Wizards of the Coast is taking with this set. Foundations will be legal for the next 5 years. 5 years of legality. And Llanowar Elves is the kind of card that can really skew a format, right? So every card that costs 3 can now be in play on turn 2 on the play before your opponent's even done anything, which is a huge deal. So this is the riskiest card in the format. I could see a world where they ban it at some point because after 4 years of this, it might just get tiresome. That probably won't happen, but I'm just saying it is in the realm of possibility. For Ubiquity's case. But Llanowar Elves is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's funny now. It's better now than it was back in the day. Because back in the day, you were casting whatever, Call of the Herd or something like that. Look it up for all you Zoomers. Now you're casting just absolutely ridiculous cards. Threats are so much better these days that casting them ahead of schedule is just so good, which is why ramp cards are like a lot better than they used to be. And Elf is just really good. There's not much more to say, you know? So Bombin Common, it's also honorary best in show. I'm not going to double up on awards. I'm going to give it something else. But yeah, just think about all the good cards that cost 3 in standard and now cast them on turn 2 in the play and think about how good they are. All right, so Burst Lightning, Disfigure, Cut Down, killing elves is going to be pretty important. Not much more to say here. Liner also is great, and you all know that. So that gets an elf matters too, which is a big deal. Loot Returns. Loot Exuberant Explorer. 2 mana for a 1/4. Exploration, play an extra land each turn. And then you can pay 6 mana and tap it, look top 6 cards of your library. Reveal a creature, mana value, less than or equal to the number of lands on the battlefield. And then put the creature on the battlefield, rest on the bottom. This card's good. A 1/4 exploration is pretty good by itself, honestly. There's a bounce line in center, which is pretty cool. And then there's also just ways to draw cards and things like that. And then the 6 mana buyout effect is also pretty good too. So yeah, I mean, this card's kind of nice. I don't think it's like a crazy card or anything like that. But this card's nice. Pretty cool on turn 2. You're going to be hearing that a lot in the future, right? But yeah, definitely a cool, fun build around. Looking forward to playing this card, 10 New Brews. Don't think it's like format warping or anything like that, but I think it's a card that you could definitely see play, and it's very, very fun. In Limited, it's also great just being a 1/4 with a little bit of upside. They can ramp, and then having a mana sink ability too. You just find your bombs. Card's great. I like it a lot. Big fan. Mild-Mannered Librarian. That Librarian looks a little fishy to me. I don't know. 1 green, 1/1, human, pay 4, comes a werewolf, put 2 counters on it, and draw a card. This is just a fine limited card, you know? This is the kind of card where, threat of activation makes so you won't block it, but just 3/3 draw a card for 4 is fine, you know? It's a werewolf, sure, whatever, it's a human, but yeah. I guess it's an okay limited card, nothing more. It is cool you can end step it too, right? If you're playing a flash deck, so you can have it in play, they do nothing, end step, draw cards, so that's cool. Mossborn Hydra. 2 mana for a 0/0 trample. EDBs with 1 counter on it, and then landfall, double the counters on this creature. So it's more of a 4-drop than a 3-drop, right? But note that Fable Passage isn't standard, so all the landfall cards have a little extra umph on them. And if you go turn 4, this Passage, 2/2, crack, 4/4, 1 mana spell, 8/8 next turn, that's pretty good, you know? Probably not good enough. But could be cool with extra land effects and stuff. Card's cool. Fun card. Obviously, ridiculous limited card. It gets out of control pretty fast. Yeah, it's cool. Plays well with Bristly Bill, which is kind of fun too. So that's cool. Fun card. Needletooth back. 5 mana for a 4/5 morbid. Beginning of your end step. Creature die this turn. Put 2 counters on a creature you control. Ridiculous limited card. Absolutely ridiculous. Good body. Great effect. Happens more than once. Play this thing. It could be a 6/7 for 5 on the floor, and you only go from there. Bonkers limited card. Really, really good. Horn Beetle. If you played Theros limited, you would know this card was a banger. Great limited 2-drop. Scales up. There is a lot of counter things in this set. This is another good one. Card's awesome. Also, never mind.
Oh, whoops. Whoopsie.
It's a bug. That's what I was going to say. But yeah, great limited card. Constructed, no, but great limited card. Overrun Returns. Now, I will say, back in the day, Overrun was instant win limited. Cast Overrun, win the game, period. Magic ain't like that anymore. Creatures, once again, are really, really good by themselves. Don't need much help. There's a lot more trading, a lot more tempo, and a lot of spots where, you're just going to have 1 or 2 creatures in play and draw Overrun and be like... That being said, there are some go wide things in the set, both in the goblins in red, as well as the rabbit stuff or whatever, the token stuff in white. So this card is a reasonable limited card, but I think it's going to be a lot worse than you think it is. It is not Overrun from 2003. It's 2024. Be aware of that, all right? But if you need a way to win, this can do it for you in your draft deck. But yeah. Well, if Overrun wasn't enough for you, how about Preposterous Proportions? 7 mana, +10/+10 in vigilance, no trample. take everything I just said about Overrun and say it about this card, but much, much worse. Overrun is much better than this card by a lot. But yeah, I mean, sure. If you have buys in play, cast a card limited, you'll probably win the game because they'll have to block also. And just, it's like a wrath. But yes, there are large squirrels. I understand. I get it. Aww. Sure.
I suppose you think that was terribly clever.
Bad news for Spine Worm, right? Or sorry, Craw Worm. Craw Worm has been double power crept. F's in chat for Craw Worm, the original gangster. For those who don't know, in Alpha, Craw Worm was a 6-mana 6/4. That's it. But everyone freaking loved Craw Worm. It was huge. What else are they going to cast your Llanowar Elves back in Alpha, right? Well, Quake Strider Ceratops is literally double that. It does have one more green pip. It is a vanilla 12/8. Honestly, this card literally hammers in limited. It's huge. Similar to Alka, whatever, Beetlejuice from the last set. It's just so big. It's pretty hard to kill. No evasion sucks, obviously, but like you must block it every turn. It can block everything. It's only 6 mana too. So cool limited card. Just a cool card in general. Great flavor text. Again, a lot of hits in this set, and this is one of them. Quill's Great Worm, 6-mana Mythic, 7/7 Trample. Whenever creature you control deals combat damage during your turn, but that many counters on it, it must survive to get the counters. Important. You may cast a card from your graveyard by removing 6 counters from among creatures you control, in addition to paying its other costs. It's a cool card, like a ridiculous limited bomb. Ridiculous. Constructed-wise, I think it's a little too combat-focused, but it's pretty powerful. Cool card for sure. Constructed, probably not. Limited banger. Great casual card. It's cool. Combat damage includes players. Combat damage is any damage dealt in combat by a creature. You can remove the Overlord spend counters of this, which is kind of cool, but seems a little Christmas landy. So, not the spend counters, the time counters on Overlords, which is what I assume you meant. Rexage Returns. Good sideboard card. It's also an elf. We all know what this card does. Scavenging Ooze. All right, so I'm giving best in show to Scavenging Ooze. Classic Magic card. Very, very powerful card. And then also, graveyards are extremely relevant in Standard right now. Extremely relevant. Being able to exile cards in graveyards. Delirium, Helping Hand, Oculus. You can get the Aquazats while it's still in the graveyard. Just a really, really powerful effect. It grows, it gets countered, it gains life. Ooze is great. Just a great card. It is not better than Llanowar Elves, but I usually don't double up on awards. So Skooz wins the award. I just love Scavenging Ooze too here. Great choice to the original art. Love it. Is it better or worse than the GG3/3? I think it's better. The life gain's relevant. It's easier to cast. I think it's better. So, like Ooze a lot. Yeah. It's great. Scavenging Ooze is great. Banger limited card. Not much to say here, folks. We all know what Scavenging Ooze does, right? Snakeskin Veil. Another card that's pretty good. Art illegal and standard. Played in the Boros decks. This card does what it does. It's good. Spinner of Souls. Submit it for a 4/3 reach. Pretty good body. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may reveal cards at the top of your library to reveal a creature card. Put that in your hand, rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This card's ridiculous. Like, a 4/3, if they kill any other creature, you get another card. Holy moly, right? So, the rate here is great. I don't know what deck would want this card, but as far as, like, rate goes, like, this card's ridiculous. Ridiculous limited card. A must-kill card. Basically a flag bearer, where, like, they gotta kill this card first, then kill your other creatures. Is bad against Sunfall and exile effects and stuff, but pretty wild rate. And then definitely some combo potential as far as, like, sack stuff. Pretty good on turn 2 Llanowar Elves, right?
I'm sorry, Colin. It was an accident. I was having too much fun.
So, card's great. Limited bomb. Some possible combo applications, honestly. You could just, like, keep going through your deck, which is kind of cool. So, very powerful card. Sylvan Scavenging. It's our trap card. This card looks so cool, but I don't think it is. The mana enchantment, beginning of your end step, choose one. Put a +++ counter on a creature you control, or make a 3/3 token if you control creature power 4 or greater. The problem here is that this does not give you things if you do not have things. And that's a really bad place to be for an enabler like this. So you play this card, they kill your creature, you just don't do anything. And now you've done nothing for your turn and just say go, and you play a new creature, and they just kill it, and then things get really, really sad.
Hello, darkness.
So, yeah, cool art. Can get going, obviously, if it does. And then in limited card seems cool. It is pretty cool. Land or Elves also, unsurprisingly. Make your elf a 2/2. But that sort of mitigates what makes this card bad, which is playing through mana for this card. Because you can just play anything else. So I think this card's kind of meh. That's my trap card for green. Still a fine limited card, I think, but... Treetop Snir Spinner. 4 mana for a 1/4 reach, Death Touch. Really good stat line. 3 mana put a counter on a creature you control, only as a sorcery. Good limited card. It's a little clunky, but it's a great blocker and a great mana sink too. Good defensive card. I like this card. Good draft card. Treetop Snir Spinner. Vivian Reed. Maybe you all haven't cast Vivian before, all right? But we haven't had a lot of Planeswalkers lately. And Vivian was really, really good. 5 mana walker, minus 5 loyalty. +1 draw card, a creature or a land. That's really good. -3 to destroy an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. That's the big one, folks. There are a ton of good artifacts, enchantments, and flyers in standard. And this can kill them and do a bunch of other stuff too, which is great. Huge, huge deal. Kills Unholy Annex, kills the demons. Very, very relevant. And then the emblem's also good too if you get there, but this is just a card drawing removal machine. This is a classic Planeswalker. Get it in play early, have a somewhat stable board, take over the game. And again, with Land or Elves, cast it early, card's great. If y'all play with Vivian, folks, you should, because this card is a banger. Looks simple, it is not. Vivian is great. Obviously, ridiculous and limited also. Just a banger. Big fan of Vivian Reed. Wari Thespian returns. Sorry, Wari Hound or whatever in Duskmourn. Good limited card. I'm a big fan of this limited card. I liked it in March of the Machine. I liked it in Duskmourn. I like it now. It's worse here than in Duskmourn, where Delirium was a thing. But like, 2 mana for a 3/1 that double surveils is great. Fills the graveyard, finds stuff you want, blocks, finds your lands. Just good draft card. You know, just good solid card. Wildwood Scorch. Green X, 0/0. Gets counters, doubles counters when you put counters on things. Good draft card. You know, plays all the other counter stuff. That's it for green. So, to recap, Scavenging Ooze is our best in show. It's actually Land or Elves, but I don't double up on awards. Vivian Reed's your sleeper card. Scavenging is your trap card. And of course, Land or Elves is your Bombin Common. Folks, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitch. Let's keep going here. Multicolors next. We're rolling. Let's keep doing it.